So we're here hanging around with Felipe Esparza, guy from East Los, Boyle Heights.
Yes, I grew up in Boyle Heights, Pico Gardens housing projects. It was a gated community. The windows were gated. The back door was gated.
Okay, I'm gonna try and do this straight. So this HBO special that how long have you been working on this?
I've been working on this HBO special for the last 4 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, it took me a while to write it, because my last special, everybody memorized it. And I will be on stage, and I will see women in the front row and lip singing my material. And they're doing everything. They've been doing the hand gestures and the hair. So I said, man, I gotta change the material. So I was on a podcast called the Champs Podcast with Neil Brennan and Moshe Kasher. It's a different podcast. They're two white guys, but they never have a white guest. They're all African American or Latino. So one of the first podcasts was two white guys with no white guests. The podcast should have been called No White Guests, but it was called The Champs. So they interviewed me, and they told me we had an hour, and I'm not used to talking for an hour unless it's comedy. So they told me, talk about yourself. So where should I begin? So I started telling them the story about how I came to America illegally, fair and square. And I talked about how I would translate for my mom and dad growing up because they didn't speak no English. I was talking about how I'm a single father and how I'm a cheater with relationships. So they told me, Felipe, you just did a whole hour here about your life. That's hilarious. You ever thought about putting that on stage? I thought about it, but I don't know how. It was just, when this airs, take notes about everything you said, and you got a bit right there. So I took notes of what I wrote, and I started building a chunk of comedy. But the way I did it was, I didn't want to try out the material in an audience that paid money to see me be funny, because I don't want to cheapen the jokes, give them a horrible show. So I went to like the widest show I could think of in LA. I went to the West Side Theater in West Hollywood in Santa Monica, and it's all a hipster audience, nothing but IPAs and PBRs, and they wanted, and I knew this is a white hipster audience. It's a hipster, black hipster, even Mexican hipsters, chipsters, So these people are very self-righteous, very liberal audience, they judge everything. So I said, this is the best audience, because if I get a chuckle in this horrible audience that judges every joke and thinks every joke should be written well, I'm gonna do well. So I went up there and I got a couple of laughs and then more laughs, and then I got a one clap of one joke, and I said, thank you, sir. You know what that clap means in a real audience? A standing ovation. So once I brought these jokes to my audience, it was like a wake-up call. They were laughing out loud. They were giving it up.
So the show is called Translate This. Excuse my accent here.
It's called Translate This. Traduce eso. Ya lo hice. I did it.
And so it's a little bit more personal in some ways.
Yeah, it's a little bit more personal. These are jokes I didn't make up. These are real jokes that really happened. Yeah. Real situations that happened in my life, like getting a girl pregnant in high school, and your mom not finding out. Like, she told her mom she was pregnant before me. Oh. Of course, because she was getting bigger. She wasn't fitting her clothes.
It's life. It's life.
And then when I told my mom, her first response was, you don't bring this child to the house. And I'm like, oh, I wasn't planning on to. I'm not bringing this child anywhere, right? So, and then she said that you ruin your life. Like most parents, that's the problem with America or this world. A teenage kid gets somebody pregnant and it's like the end of the world. You know what I mean? I thought the Bible said we got to bring in life. You know, life should be celebrated no matter how it's brought here. You know, there's no mistake when you bring in a life. So instead of a teenager getting pregnant, instead of calling him a loser, you know, we never offered to help him. Hey, you know what? It's okay you got pregnant. You're going to still go to school. I'm going to help you babysit. You're going to raise this baby right. You're going to still go to school. This is not the end of the road. No, you got people who are going to back you up. There's never that in the inner city, in the projects, you know, in black communities, in Mexican communities, Latino communities in general. You know, we see having a baby as this roadblock, like you're not going to make it anymore. But, you know, I prove everybody wrong. So a lot of the jokes come from the anger I felt from people who were calling me a loser for being a father at so young. So one of the jokes my mom said, you ruined your life. You got somebody pregnant at 17? I wish I was smart enough to tell my mom, no, Mom, you ruined your life. You're a grandma at 34. You're going to babysit for free. Now you're going to take my... Yeah.
Well, I mean, I understand what you're saying, because it seems like if there was more support in communities like that, I think there won't be as much problems as...
yeah, you know, whether...
It's not as simple as that,
yeah.
but you know what...
There gotta be more support, you know. Maybe the person don't want to have the baby, you know. Take them to Planned Parenthood, you know, do something.
Yeah.
Or help them raise it. You know, we're gonna babysit your baby when you go to school.
Yeah.
Somebody gotta pitch in.
Well, like we say in Spanish, todos nos necesitamos de apoyar.
Necesitamos apoyo. But see, man,
Yeah.
apoyo also means the Apollo. And you watch the show The Apollo, they boo you. So I used to have a show where I used to do a show where all the Mexicans there and all the Latinos used to boo me. This place is like the Apollo. It's called the Apoyo. But there's none of it's here.
Well, yes. You know, I throw out my questions to you. No, because this is another side that I don't think a lot of your followers, your fans, have seen that much of you. And so I think this is great. This is really great for you. And HBO is a great opportunity.
Yeah, I think HBO is a great platform for stand-up comedians, especially young ones like myself. You know, I'm a young comedian at heart. You know, I'm new. I'm new to this type of world. You know, being interviewed all day, and I've always wanted to be on HBO. Like the comedians before me, they wanted to be on Johnny Carson, The Tonight Show. You know, Jimmy Walker, Gary Shandling. You know, those type of guys. Freddie Prinze.
Yeah.
He'd be instant. Like being on The Tonight Show when Freddie Prinze was on and Paul Rodriguez was on, it's like getting us immediately 30 million views on YouTube.
Yeah.
You're going to be an instant star.
Mm.
But now there's no Johnny Carson, and The Tonight Show doesn't carry the same weight as before.
No.
You could be on a Tonight Show right now as a young comic, and the next day nobody knows who you are. But on HBO, there's billboards.
Yes.
There's interviews. People gonna know that this show is gonna be on.
Well, Felipe, it's really wonderful to talk to you. But I did want to ask you. You mentioned, who were your mentors?
My mentors. I have a lot of people who I looked up to in stand-up comedy. My first stand-up show I ever watched was my friend Jackie Escalera. He brought up one of those suitcase record players, and he busted out Bill Cosby, my brother Russell, who I sleep with. And man, it was like a 30-minute album, 15-minute each side. And man, that was like the first taste of stand-up comedy I ever heard. Because up until then, I've only watched Spanish comedy, like Los Polivoces, La Carabina de Ambrosio, Las Chiquilladas, El Chavo del Ocho, Chespirito, you know, those type of comedy, Cepillín, La India Maria, Capolina, Verrugas, Tintan, you know, all these people. but they're all Spanish. But there was nothing for me to watch in English, you know. So when I saw Paul Rodriguez, I was like, wow, this is like Richard Pryor to me. I could relate to him. Then I saw George Lopez. I said, whoa, this guy from my neighborhood. So yeah, man. And then I got to meet a lot of great comedians that helped me along the way, that gave me hope, that took me under their wing, like Willie Barcena. He's been on the Tonight Show 12 times. I mean, it's not even a record, but he's probably the first Mexican-American that's been on the Tonight Show at least 14 times. And Gabriel Iglesias, Fluffy, he imitated me on his act, and I got to open up for him. I learned a lot about how to brand yourself as a comedian. And Paul Rodriguez is probably the best mentor ever, because I wanted to know how do I cross over, you know, like these African-American comedians. And Paul Rodriguez told me that if you're funny enough, you don't have to cross over. They're going to come crossing over to you. So hopefully the HBO special will do that. They'll cross over and watch HBO.
And that's September
30th on HBO, 10 o'clock.
All right. Well, congratulations. And
Thank you.
Hope to talk to you soon again.
Yes.
Thanks.
On my next movie.
There you go.